Thanks, Rob. Moving on to our recommendations. Our recommendation is that we start a boat route just around the southern portion of the lake. That means we skip Ntusi, Chabayaska, Kagunga. So then what we're looking at is starting at Rutinda, going to Mulundi, Hutu, Hakazira, Bwama, back to Rutinda. We'll look at a map in a second to make sure we understand where we're going. This is all with one boat of about 30 passengers, a big wooden boat we found in Entebbe. We talked to a shipwright there, and the shipwright said he could make the boat and ship it for cheaper than we could buy a boat on Lake Bunyonyi. This was all with the excellent negotiation of Jerry, so much thanks to him. He said the boat looked great and was using even a rare wood. So he was very impressed, and so were we. We think it's a great option. In addition, we're thinking this boat can go about 5 circuits a day. Each circuit we're thinking will be about 1.5 hours. All this plugs in and draws from a calculus equation we'll look at later. Let's look at that map. So this is our recommended route, main slide. Our recommended route is we start at Rutinda, move to Mulundi like we said, and all the way to Buhutu, up to Hakazira, stopping at Bwama, the hospital, and then back to Rutinda. I would recommend this specific order in counterclockwise. That's because the people in Hakazira currently have a lot of need to go to the hospital for an affordable rate. People in Buhutu need to go to Rutinda for a lot less than they're currently paying, which is around 3,000 Ugandan shillings. For people in Hakazira, they're paying around $10 USD just to get to Bwama. You can see it's a very short route. There's a lot of need in the southern portion of the lake. In the northern portion of the lake, the reason we don't think there's a lot of need is because in Kagunga and Chabayaska, they're paying around 2,000 to 2,500 to get all the way to Rutinda. In addition, we asked them how long they would have to wait for a boat. They said about 30 minutes, which is not very long. Basically, when we plug in the numbers, and you'll see it in the next couple of slides, we can't charge much less than 1,500, and we can't get there faster than about every hour. And so there's just not a lot of value add we can bring to this portion of the lake. However, again, the southern portion, we can add a lot of value. The other part of this, besides value to the passengers, is how efficient is the route. We need to stay in the black, meaning we can't run at a deficit. So, first of all, we'll need to make some assumptions and then plug those variables into an equation for the final calculus to see which route is most efficient, which route will keep us in the black. In terms of embarkations per stop, we're hoping to have at least 6 passengers per stop. We were told this is a realistic number by Ntusi staff and through our interviews with villagers on the ground. We can charge each passenger about 1,500, which is a reasonable value, again, for the southern portion of the lake. The cost for fuel is fairly stable, about 3,400 per liter. In terms of fuel efficiency, we can go about 1.7 kilometers every liter of fuel expended. That's going at 16 kilometers per hour, which is faster than any other boat on the lake. Our captain pay will be about 17,500 for the month. And so what that means is we were looking at median pay for that region. We also talked to Ntusi staff, and this monthly pay should be around that median good solid wage for the month. And lastly, in terms of how long each captain will wait at each stop, we're asking them to wait about 10 minutes at each stop. This means if you leave Rutinda at 7 a.m., it's 7 a.m. on the schedule, they'll arrive at 6:50 a.m. That's to give the waiting passengers some time to gather their things, but also will give the cultural adjustment time for them to get used to a regular schedule. As time progresses and they get used to this regular schedule, this waiting time can be shortened. In terms of calculus, change slide. Our calculus is based on these variables and assumptions. You can see at the top bar of this calculus we have a circuit route. Originally going into this project, we assumed a route around the entire lake, hitting every point, would be the best way to do it. Again, it would not add as much value and would not be as efficient as it needs to be. You can see with the circuit route, and in this chart, green is good, red is bad. The darker green, the better; the darker red, the worse. So in the circuit route, you can see a very dark red for longest travel time, an hour and 20 minutes, which means if somebody gets on in Tusi and needs to go all the way around to Rotinda, they'll be on the boat for about an hour and 20 minutes, which is a very long time, especially if you're paying $1,500, and normally you can catch a boat for about that same price. It goes much faster. At the bottom, we see our recommended route, which is the southern route. On the southern route, the longest travel time is 42 minutes, which is pretty good. On the far column, it says passengers needed to break even. This column is basically an efficiency measure. How many passengers at $1,500 per head you need to get on the boat in order to keep your numbers in the black? That is, to prevent losing money on the boat route. You can see with the southern loop, again that bottom rung on the chart, it's 98, meaning you only need 98 passengers to break even with your boat service. So it's a very efficient route. In fact, it's the most efficient route of any of these route options. If you're curious about any of these other route options, you can look in our report to find out more. What you can see clearly is the southern route is the most efficient. It's not the fastest. The fastest is the two-boat express. Again, you can look at the passengers needed to break even, and the two-boat express clocks in at about 500 passengers a day, which is very unrealistic according to our expectations. Next slide. In terms of startup costs, what we're looking at is buying a boat, buying a motor, buying a spare parts motor, which is an extra motor we can take parts from in case something breaks on the new motor, 1 month's salary for the captain, docking equipment is a paddle and rope and a rubber bumper for the boat, life jackets for every passenger, so 30 life jackets, and a life ring, which is that foam donut you throw out to somebody in distress. Lastly, we have the Boat Owners Association fee, the lowest cost of this entire list. We think it's probably one of the most important. The Boat Owners Association is a community on the lake that other people recognize and who we'd like to recognize this project. It's very critical, of course, to the mission of PLI to become integrated into the community, and this is the best way to do it. So at $10, it's a great bargain. All this adds up to be about $5,500, which is below budget, meaning we have a few extra dollars to spend on other projects, which Rob will talk about in a second. Next slide. In terms of the risks and other considerations of this project that we haven't covered so far, first of all, we'll need more than one captain. With one captain, the captain can get sick or can just not show up. We need some kind of insurance that somebody will be there. Two captains operating 20-hour weeks would alleviate some of that and create a reliable boat service, which is one of the value adds we can bring to the table. In addition, we'll need a spare parts engine. Again, this is a used engine we buy for relatively cheap. If something breaks on the new engine, this identical used engine, we can pull a part from it and replace on the new engine, rather than shipping from Japan or shipping from Kabale or shipping from Kampala. We also need a dry dock because we need to repair the boat. Wood will rot eventually. We need a place to pull the boat onshore and have it up where it can dry out and prevent that rot as long as possible. We'll also need a dry dock in order to repaint and refinish the boat. Another item we'll need is to ensure that the captain is fully up to date on rules and regulations of a boat operation. Luckily, a manual is included with the new Yamaha engine. That manual details rules and regulations of operating a small boat on in a lake, and will detail generally how to operate and how to be safe in that environment. Hopefully, the new captain can learn these rules and regulations and also understand the impetus of why they're important. Next, we'd like the captain also to be trained in lifeguard. We'd like to have the captain have lifeguard training. This will probably be a minimal cost, but with great benefits. We want the captain to be able to offer rescue without endangering himself or others on the boat. Next, we'll need some kind of lights for the boat and for docks for dusk and early dawn operations.